Thank you, Narayan, and welcome to all of you to today's Sunday service, those of you who are here and also those of you who have joined us online. It's a pleasure to be able to share with you this morning on a topic that I have found very interesting. Now, it's as it was introduced with the reading Intellect versus Intuition, but I don't like the verses so much because really it's not either or. It's both and. Intellect, very important for us to be able to have that. But also we know that the deeper insights that come to us, particularly on the spiritual path as we meditate, are intuitive. And so let's explore that a little bit today, those two topics. Now, I'm going to approach it from a little bit, something that perhaps I've been interested in recently. And I think also something that you have encountered it, whether you consciously have encountered it or not, I don't know. But I know some of you have, and that's artificial intelligence. Now, some of you, and many of you, maybe I should have a raising of hands. How many of you use the Ananda Library? Yeah, it's quite a few of you. So if you have access to the library and you haven't been using it, I very much recommend that you do, because there's an interesting feature that has been added into the library, and that's the chat, the AI, artificial intelligence chat feature to be able to serve. And that's appeared in the last year or so, and I find it very, very interesting. I find it very useful too, obviously, as somebody who prepares Sunday services and lectures. It has its uses, and I very much recommend it for that because it's a time saver. It's you need something, you're saying, what did Swami say about that? And I used to always have to go and look in there and try to find it. I know it's in some book somewhere, where is it? But now I can go and I just ask, and it'll very quickly in one way or another to lead me. And what I very much like about it too, whatever question you ask, it comes up with an answer, and it'll give you some hints of, get you started. And it gives you the references of where in the library that came from. So you can go and verify it, look it up, go a little bit deeper into it. And of course, those of you who go online and use Google, you know now, if you've observed it, right? When you ask Google something, right at the first, often, boom, it'll give you a little AI summary of the very question. And then, of course, it gives you also ways to reference it. But it basically, Google spans not really an infinite amount of material, but it's seemingly huge, whereas the function in our library uses basically the material that is in the library to base its questions and answers. And so I found this really very fascinating, and I'm thinking about it. And the whole topic of artificial intelligence is intriguing. And I think it is one of those revolutionary technologies that come along from time to time, like the wheel. Changes everything. But if let you go a little bit more modern, just a couple, if you might say, as Dwapara Yuga was introduced into historical times, 17th century thereabout, one of the very important technologies was the steam engine. Energy. It introduced that, and it introduced and ushered in the Industrial Revolution, very key to it. What follows, not too far on its heels, electricity. Electricity comes in and everything starts to change. Internal combustion engine, another one, revolutionary. Radio, television. What happened in the 80s? Desktop computers, personal computers, laptops. Revolutionary changes came in that are more than just the technology. Society itself responds in so many different ways. You talk to people now about the days of writing letters and, pre-computer It's just inconceivable to people that are of a certain age. And the old fogies, remember sending letters to Italy with a stamp. It's so different now. And then, what do you get? 1990s, internet. Revolutionary. What do you get in the aughts, the 2000 aughts? You get the mobile phone. Devices, all in one. And it's had a tremendous impact. And society itself changes, forms changes. And now we have artificial intelligence. And I believe, it's my opinion, but I think I'm right, that in the next decade, or maybe more, it's going to revolutionize society in many, many ways, technologically. At least in that. And of course, that has some, when any new technology comes in, it's transformative, particularly those, it's got good and it's got bad. It's got the potential, but that's everything in life. Everything has good, everything has bad. But it's going to have its influence. And you will notice these revolutionary technologies, they've been speeding up. So what comes next after that, I don't know, but we're going to see. Because I don't think it's going to take too long for the next one to come. But things are changing in that way. Now, when we look at it, and of course it raises some concerns that people fear. Well, now, I remember in 1968, a movie came out that 2001, A Space Odyssey. Now, it's an old movie now. It's an old movie. It's 25 years. It was projecting it, so the movie itself, for 50 years practically. And 2001 seemed so far in the future at that time. But I remember seeing that movie. And you might say, who's the central person you remember from that movie? Hal. The computer. The intelligent computer who ultimately, Dave, it was the astronaut, Dave, and he takes over, because he's fearful. And so, it's basically, he's an intelligent computer running the spaceship, and Dave's along for the ride. And so, but he takes over. And so many people have a vision like that. What's going to happen with this AI? Is it going to take over? Is it dangerous? Well, like the sharp knife, it can be dangerous. Obviously it is, but also sharp knives have their uses too. But every technology is like that, and it's going to be into the future. And so you have this one that's coming along, and it made me think. I started thinking about it. It's going to replace, jobs and so on and have those effects. But is it possible that you could create humanoids that are very intelligent? You see, very intelligent. Maybe some of you might be one already. I don't know. Very intelligent. How are you going to tell the difference? But the real question there, is it possible? We can make very smart machines, and they're going to get real intelligent, and they can reason really well. But can you make one that's conscious? Now, that's an interesting question. I'm going to answer it, but I'm going to first have an interesting question. But why not, you might think? We have people right now, they have artificial limbs, right? No big deal. They're probably going to get really, really good. You're going to have artificial organs inside of us. I think we even have some of those maybe now. What about an artificial heart? Possible. Maybe it exists already. I don't know. Thinking about, what about an artificial brain? Think that's possible? What is this life flowing through my brain? Or what is this consciousness flowing through my brain? And so you think, well, gosh, we could manufacture this, and maybe we could make something conscious, a humanoid conscious. Now that would be interesting, maybe a little threatening too. But I don't think it's going to happen. For a fundamental reason, now technology is going to be able to do many different things, but what is the premise which scientists are talking, if they raise these issues, what's the premise of that proposal? that I can manufacture consciousness. Humans can manufacture consciousness. Matter can manufacture consciousness. Now, is that giving you a hint? It's the exact opposite what Master said. It's the exact opposite what yoga says. It's the exact opposite what the saints and sages have said. Consciousness transcends matter. Consciousness does not come out of matter. It's the other way around. That ultimately, and it's matter, energy, and then ultimately consciousness that transcends matter. And it's indicative that science would think this way, because this study, I think, is one of the most fascinating. In the coming century, I think these questions are the most pertinent that are going to be raised in the coming century. What is consciousness? What is it? How do I manufacture it? Can I make it? And that question is representative, or the idea of making consciousness, creating that in some engineering it, is classically a residue of Kali Yuga. Matter is the substance and the essence of this reality. And out of that, consciousness can arise, out of matter. And that, in a sense, defines Kali Yuga. But what we're doing, as history passes and goes by, is we're coming, and I think in this coming century, maybe 2 centuries, we're coming to the point, I believe, where we're going to come to a general societal understanding that consciousness is the basis of reality, and that matter, as Swamiji would say, as the scriptures say, or as our scriptures say, ultimately from that, matter descends. It's a manifestation of consciousness. But then it still raises the question, what is that consciousness? But we're going to be able to perceive it inside of ourselves. And I think when that happens, and when society itself gets to that point of recognizing that reality, that will be revolutionary. Think of how people's perception of this reality will change, must change, to take up that perception. And I think when that happens, then we will be fully into Dwapara Yuga. You see, we're still carrying with us thought forms, waves of thinking that are residual from the past. And we haven't really, although maybe the time clock might say, as Sri Yukteswar says, that we're now in Dwapara Yuga, yet we're trailing like a comet. We're trailing all of this other baggage along with us, ways of thinking that don't change immediately, but that will change. And I think that perception will be that point. And people will begin to think, yes, it's consciousness. That is, and it presupposes certain perceptions within ourselves, which I say are revolutionary. Now, it's interesting, I was thinking about this, and I thought about consciousness. What is consciousness? What is it? I mean, we asked, it's very difficult to, you might say, describe. I think we have a sense of self-awareness of what it is, but to actually describe it is very difficult to do. But it is something that, so what I did is I started researching a little bit. Now, when did this word consciousness come into our vocabulary? When did people even say that? And it turned out it was about in the 17th century. Now, interestingly, what does Sri Yukteswar and then Yuga theory say about the 17th century? Basically, we're moving into a new age. That's when, by the clock, that's when the word consciousness first arose. John Locke, Descartes, and Samuel Johnson's very first, the fellow who wrote the first dictionary, English dictionary, he entered it into the dictionary, consciousness. And again, he was in the 1700s, that would be 18th century. He put it in there. And it becomes in part of the vocabulary. But yet, it takes time. It takes time for people to really, truly understand what is consciousness. And we're still grappling with that. And we don't know what we can perceive it, but we don't know. And now, not only did we start with, and I didn't look this up, but when's the word subconsciousness come into play? Maybe 100 years ago? I don't know. But now we have consciousness, we have subconsciousness. And what word was introduced in the 20th century? Superconsciousness. Superconsciousness. Now those of you who are teachers and have shared these teachings, maybe you're like me. I've always had a hard time defining that. It's like one of those words, it's kind of, So what did I do? I thought, well, I want to define it. What do I do? I'll go onto the chat function and ask for a definition. So I went into the library and I says, what's superconsciousness? And I like to read it because this gives you an idea of what our library can do. Superconsciousness is a higher state of awareness where one is in tune with divine consciousness. It is distinct from the conscious mind, which interacts with the world through the senses, and the subconscious mind, which stores experiences and habits. The superconscious state is characterized by intuition and is accessed through deep meditation. It emerges when the distractions of restless thoughts and attachments are silenced, revealing a core part of our being that is inherently joyful and calm. This state aligns with the presence of God within and harmonizing all aspects of our being. That AI function was really good. That's pretty good. I thought, wow, that's really, really good. Well, this is, in a sense, that's what's being described here. But still, it's hard to get a grasp on it. I think in a sense we can have an intuitive understanding of what's being said, but how do we actually experience that? Now, some of you may have had an experience already in some way. And Swamiji actually describes this somewhat common experience that when we go to sleep at night, we have this sense when we talk about subconsciousness, consciousness, superconsciousness, we see it as kind of superconscious is above the others. Well, I think there's some sense to that, but really he said superconsciousness lies at that boundary line between subconsciousness and consciousness. And that when we go to sleep at night, we pass through that state to get from one to the other. So we're in the consciously, we go to sleep, we have to go to subconscious, but we pass through the superconsciousness to get there. And the same thing in the morning when we wake up, we pass through. And Swamiji makes the point, that's the point, and maybe Master makes this point, that's the point when if we practice, we can access it. And Swamiji actually gives an exercise for that. Maybe I'll read that as well. But I have a little funny story, and I actually had that experience once. Just once, but it was very worthwhile because it gives one view of something is worth 1,000,000 words. And so I said, that's it. And this was in 1977. Sadhana Devi and I were living after the houses burned down, we were living in our tent up on the hillside. And it was a good sized tent, 16 by 16. And I went to sleep early. I was tired. I went to sleep early. And Sadhana Devi was sitting, I was in bed laying down, and she was there in a chair reading. She was reading. So I'd gone to bed early, so she was reading. And I just fell asleep. And I just, boom, I woke up in a superconscious state. And it was just like, whoa, that was, it was just very expanded awareness out of the physical body, and just very difficult to describe, but very blissful, very centered, very calm. And that happened, and I just was so stunned, I wanted to tell Sadhana Devi about it. And so I should have now, in retrospect, I should have just gone into this, but it was just instinctual. I sat up, and I said, and I looked at her, and I said, it's trying to grasp in the conscious, logical, reasoning mind a description, and I couldn't do it. And the more I tried, the more it began to fade. Until it faded, and I went, and she finally says, it's what? and I fell back, and I go, oh. And it went away. It never happened again. But it was memorable. It was a transcendent, not in this logical, I don't know how to describe it really, but that can be perceived, you see, and and it's basically on a spectrum, it's intuition. And this is what we're trying to do. It really is what we're doing when we meditate. We're trying to get to that point of entering into that subconscious state. Now, I'm going to read this little technique because I found it very interesting. Swami wrote this, and you might try this. One technique from the art of superconsciousness involves relaxing the body in a sitting position, leaning against the back of a comfortable chair and closing the eyes to forget worries and dismiss restless thoughts. The goal is to feel drowsy and passive, essentially letting go and attempting to doze. This process should be repeated until, upon closing the eyes and switching off the optical currents, one is instantly submerged in the subconscious. At this point, when feeling heavy with sleep, one should quickly tense the whole body and lift the drooping state to transition into the superconscious realm. Now, you can find this technique by going to the Ananda Library. How I found it? I asked the library, what's that technique of going into superconsciousness that Swami wrote many years ago? And it brought it right up. So try it. And I think this is something we want to become familiar with. And this is what people will become familiar with in the centuries to come. In probably this coming next century maybe, when people begin to ask and come to that realization that consciousness precedes matter. And we're going to be able to come to that and know that, I feel, people will, and Swami Sri Yukteswar predicts this in his Holy Science, that this is going to happen. And obviously the experience of this, intuitive inward experience, is necessary for society to be able to actually accept that to be true. It's just going to be a theory, and I don't think society as a world society in Dwapara Yuga will do that without the ability to actually have that become something which some of us have once in a while, once in a lifetime maybe. It starts to become more common. Now, when we look at it, we think, wow, is that possible that so quickly? And I say, yes, it is possible, because history is moving quickly now. We're in an ascending age that's transformative. The times that we're living in right now are transformative, that when we get older and look back upon this, that may not be me, But when those of you who are a younger generation look back, you'll begin to see how society itself is being transformed by these thoughts, by these concepts. But underneath it, what we're doing through our practices is we're learning to awaken the intuitive mind. That's the essence of what's being talked about here. Learn to meditate, and meditation is the tool by which we awaken the intuition. It's an intuition too. It's very hard to describe. But when it happens and you become intuitive, you begin to recognize it. Of course, there's many stories of false intuition, so we have to be careful about that. But I'd like to share just real quickly, I have only a couple minutes left. I'd like to share just quickly a few things that we can do to help us to deepen our intuition. Calmness is the key. Without calmness, the intuition does not flower. It's restless. And there's calmness of body, calmness of emotions. We've talked about this in previous discussions here. Calmness, start there. We get calm. Distractions and restless thoughts and so on have to be silenced. Deep and extended meditation is necessary to be able to have that intuition be able to come to us when we need it, rather than as a passing grace that comes. To be able to draw that intuition to us. Deep and extended meditation, it awakens the intuition. Third, intuition grows in that calm after state of meditation. So consequently, there's implications here. When we meditate, we get calm, we go deep in that meditation, and then we get restless because we're waves, we get restless again, and we quit our meditation when we're restless. Oh, I'm too restless now to meditate. Wrong. End your meditation on a calm note, so that when you open your eyes, you get up, you're in calmness. And go about, let's say, the first 15, 20 minutes after you meditate, try to maintain that calm after state and hold on to it before you start getting into email, before you start getting into conversations. Oh, what's on the agenda today? Just hold on to it. And this is a wonderful tool and a very powerful tool to deepen one's intuition. And then live from a center of calmness in your daily life. And we have to recall it, you see. We meditational feelings, to be able to gain that recalling ability. Okay, I was off there. Let me gather it back, get it back in. And then use your intuition for guidance. In little things at first, you don't want to go over the edge, but then increase it so that your guide, you feel yourself, you're practicing the actual use of meditation. And then this fifth one, which I found very interesting, practice and a commitment to truth are key to enhancing intuitive abilities. Now think of that, a commitment to truth. A commitment to truth, because we must align ourselves with what is, rather than what we would like things to be, which is where much of our life is spent, in fantasy of wish things were other than they are, but a commitment to truth. And here's the thing to consider. When we align ourselves with truth, when we align ourselves with what is, the universe supports us. You see, it gives us support, and it actually enhances what we're trying to do, that whatever guidance that we have. If we live according to truth, we will be sustained and reinforced by that. And so what may be rare in a common sense in society, it may be rare for us today, in the future, I think this is a hopeful thought, will become commonplace, because living more intuitively, living super consciously is mankind's destiny. This is where we're headed. And yes, there's dangers. There's always dangers. But that's what we have to do, is face the dangers positively, extracting, the wise ant who can take the sugar and leave the sand. This is how we have to be. And then build upon that, and we will find that our destiny to live super consciously in the real sense will arise not only in ourselves, but in society itself. So I know I say that because it can be a little depressing sometimes. You look at the internet, you look at the news, you go, oh God, that's a temporary phase. We have to go, the ups and downs of life are always there, but our destiny is to be children of light. Our destiny is to live in the light. And so let's take that with us into our day-to-day activities, awaken that intuition, and awaken that superconsciousness within ourselves. God bless.
Spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed who thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, they shall be called the children of God. Blessed those reviled for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.